Ladies and gentlemen, here for the finals for the $300 minimum 44 variant, of course, taking place here on February 1st. Is it February? Yeah, it's actually February 2nd, actually, in our current location. But still, though, happy to bring you guys the coverage for tonight's tournament as the final series is underway, taking place between Blast Radius and BigBeams. Blast Radius is hot off a big victory versus the guys on Vex Gaming, a solid 2-0 victory. And much like them, BigBeams had a similar fate in their semifinal matchup, taking down GGEA Blue, Johnny & Co. in a hot 2-0 fashion as well. So both teams feeling confident. Question being, how does the first respawn line out? Is, in my opinion, made a little bit of an early prediction. So I'm going with the guys on Blast Radius. I think they feel a lot more comfortable. They just beat the guys on Vex in this exact same map. However, it was Search and Destroy, now in respawns. But this team is very lethal from time to time, of course. We talked about their kind of overall performance. I think from Blast Radius and their maps, we've been able to watch them play throughout the night. It's really been a matter of a team effort. It's not been one guy who's been kind of settling the deal for them. It's not been one guy who's been kind of closing the case. It's just been a matter of all of them performing at different times. Havok having strong performances. Him and Legal doing work with the SMG. From time to time, Blfire doing some work with the assault rifle as well, along with Mosh, who's been playing very consistent throughout the night. So I think when you're looking at BigBeams, this is a team who, to me, can really succeed in Search and Destroy, but I feel like they really can meet their match when it comes in a hard point. I feel like this is going to be a very difficult game for them. I mean, Vex Gaming, who had a very solid showing in their series prior to facing off against the guys on Blast Radius. I mean, they had a difficult time just really kind of hopping inside of the hill. I mean, they just couldn't make rotations. The guys from BR were always a step ahead, and that just really, when it kind of comes down to the veteranship. I mean, just the overall knowledge that these guys have of the game, the knowledge of hardpoint, especially kind of coming back to the ground, of course, for this year. They have a lot more knowledge in that aspect as well. So I feel like this is going to be a difficult task, but if we know anything about this particular hill in London Docks, this can kind of be the money hill from time to time. I think I actually heard Merc discuss it on broadcast, and I absolutely agree that kind of when it comes down to 10, a.k.a. kind of Docks Warehouse, this can kind of be the money hill from time to time. This is kind of slowly but surely forming into what could be the money hill for London Docks, as it looks like initial break coming in from Legal, nearly all by himself. Havok sitting in a corner, fantastic play coming in from him, the passive, patient play working out in his favor, but still. You see the guys from Blast Radius being fully aware of how important this hard point is. Shots coming in from Havok, of course, not with the typical weapon, the assault rifle in hand. Not prone to his overall play style, but decides to use it regardless and doesn't see a whole lot of success with it, as it looks like Legal, Blfire, both earning streaks. Havok nearly earning those the life prior. But as the push gets really made now toward barrel building, if you're BigBeams, you want to establish spawn control. It looks like they do have that in their position at the moment. As SheeshSuper currently finding himself at a 3-9 total. It is starting to have some issues, of course, when streaks are at your back door. RobbieBeamin, though. Talk about streaks, he's actually earned a few of those as well. 10-9, don't let the scoreline fool you. He's playing pretty solid. It looks like the glide bomb coming through from Legal does take out Skilliosis, and when I've discussed the guys from Blast Radius, I know I've said it probably 2 or 3 times. If you've been watching all of Blast Radius in series, I'm going to say it for one final time. When Legal plays well, when Legal's turning up, this team is so difficult, if not impossible, to beat from time to time. This guy is just, I mean, the definition of dominant whenever he is at the top of his game, and it's going to be very, very problematic for BigBeams to get themselves back into this game. But of course, they're going to have to rely on picks. They have to rely on maybe even earning those streaks. RobbieBeamin, of course, he's already got a few of those. But it's also those initial rotations, not dropping and trying to play consistent. But like I said, any moment, any of these guys can have a strong performances as Mosh picks up 3 quick kills. 4th one nearly found, and of course, firing a few bullets through that barrel side. Nearly finds the 4th, but does not. So at the end of the first side rotations, we've got our final hardpoint underway inside of Docks Crane. And it looks like early on, the guys from Blast Radius are here. The fighter pop coming from the skies doesn't do any damage. It does a little bit, but it also gets the advantage of those spawns. Of course, coming from the Dock side, it's Tisch who wins the fight onto Mosh. Havok inside of fire. And speaking of such, RobbieBeamin with the appropriate weapon in hand, as I believe Legal actually through that fighter pilot literally runs into a pole. So that's kind of unfortunate. I'm sure that's probably a little bit of a unstable grounds, some Unfortunate driving, unfortunate piloting, but regardless, I'm sure you're maybe going to see a few more of those fighter pilots. Legal went to flight school, I'm pretty sure. He's pretty good with driving most of the time. But at the end of the first set of rotations, of course, as the final 5 seconds tick down instead of Doc's Crane, it is a pretty decently sized lead right now for the guys on Blast Radius with 126 to 87. As off the break, I believe, of the first set of rotations, we saw Blast Radius kind of establish an early lead. The kind of early SMG play was coming out from them, and kind of caught the guys from BigBeams off guard, I think it's fair to say. So if they can have a strong performance, kind of play a little bit better, because they absolutely have to. Being down the way that they are, they have to play better. They can still be in this match. And I think one guy that I'm really looking out for when it comes down to the guys on BigBeams is really going to be Tisch. I think Tisch, to me, can be a real big difference maker. I think when he played for, actually on his prior team, for those who aren't really familiar with Tisch, he actually played for Zodiac and had a few opportunities. I think he was playing with like Paradox, like BR Paradox, and a few other guys as well. Kind of found himself later onto the Zodiac roster along with guys like Baker, Jump, and Apox. And played pretty consistent. There was one tournament, though, I think one of his first tournaments with Zodiac, where he just had a all-star performance and played very, very well. And in one of their prior matches for BigBeams, I think it was, in their semifinal match versus GGA Blue, he was just a nuisance kind of throughout the hard points as well as the Search and Destroy, where he was just kind of playing well and they couldn't stop him. Like, they didn't have the option to really stop him whatsoever. So I think if Tisch kind of has a strong performance, which it seems that they're holding their own right now, they can, like I said, find themselves in the lead if they make the rotations. By no means are they out. And it looks like based off of that, they start to play a little more passively. They have more presence when it comes into statue. They make the rotation here toward Main Street. You see them playing very solid when it comes into the team streaks right now. You see overall 8 team streak coming in from BigBeams. As RobbieBeamin does end up following, but you have to imagine streaks could be under their way, potentially on the horizon. As rotation now coming through inside of 10, a.k.a. Doc's Warehouse. Potential money hill underway, and right now the guys from BigBeams are catching fire. They're starting to play a lot better. They're playing as a unit, playing as a group. The guns just weren't as hot. Blast Radius, of course, just literally finished a series a few minutes ago. So you got to imagine they have a little bit of that advantage kind of coming into this series, but it looks like BigBeams are now starting to feel at 60 points. Lead in their way. Totally different team from the first rotations down to the second side, but how can Blast Radius respond? And this is actually a little bit of a problem that I have seen coming in from this Blast Radius group when they were known under Orglis. I think I actually ended up casting over them playing Ardennis Forest once. And Blfire was going on a 7 or 8 streak or something like that. They were all just playing so well, and just out of nowhere, the game just slipped from their grasp. And it wasn't like versus like a very solid respawn team. I can't remember who it was against. I think it's actually versus Gravity Gaming, if my mind serves me correct, which is a good team. But I mean, they just like let the game go, and it was just like everyone just slowed down. And I'm not sure exactly what was the case, but it kind of reminds me exactly of how this hardpoint's going. They start off very, very well, but something just flicks, or something just like kind of changes to where the other team just turns up, like flips a switch. I'm not sure if it's just their kind of lack of aggression, or maybe just kind of slowing rotations, no one doing the same thing, or maybe it's just the luck of the draw where everyone just happened to be in the perfect position possible. But right now, I mean, we talk about the difference from first half to second half. I mean, it is a night and day change-up. 141 to 213. This game was like, what, a 30-second advantage at the end of the first half right now? Right at the end of the first half, excuse me, for Blast Radius. Totally different story. 30 seconds away and going. Our BigBeams away from closing out this map number 1. Blfire able to drop one. Can't find the second. Skilliosis providing some cover fire. Also has the flamethrower in his back pocket. Decides to put it away for a different hard point, maybe for a different day. Enters in that exact same position. Going to shut down Havok. Just like that, 5 seconds left. This game is about to be done. Of course, Doc's Crane under control right now of Blast Radius. And all they really need is just one good team push. If they have any streaks, now's the time to use them as the fighter pilot starts to come forward. Tisch able to drop one on Legal. Gain some information, hops inside of the hill. Right now is player number 7. And yes, they're not able to respond. RobbieBeamin is able to hop inside the hard point and do the work necessary. As like I said, I mean, it's just a big turnaround. And I want to go back maybe after this tournament's over and maybe look a little bit more at as far as like what really changed in this game. But I mean, I'm not sure if it was just a matter of Blast Radius making mistakes in the second half, or it was just BigBeams kind of getting their shots kind of under themselves and starting to play a little more confident. When I was looking at this game, and I was like, okay, well, BigBeams, they're going to have an issue in the hard point, but they just kind of turned things around. You see RobbieBeamin, 29 and 25, Tisch, 29 and 21. Super ends up finishing off even, along with nearly 2 minutes inside of the hard point. I mean, it was just kind of a back-and-forth game in the first set of rotations, but it was just like a flip of a switch. And it's so hard for me to try and explain what exactly happened, but it was just really the guys in BigBeams who started to play a lot more confident. We talked about, I believe it was Robbie, who ended up earning streaks toward the end of the first half, despite not having the greatest beginning. And they kind of utilized those streaks very well. They have great shoot economy, and through that, they start to make rotations better. They start to kind of win gunfights. Like I said, it's just a matter of like their shots just turning up. Like it was almost just like they started to play like a different team. I'm not exactly sure what exactly more to explain than that, but regardless, if you're Blast Radius, you've got to be frustrated. I think it's fair to say. You've got to be frustrated. You've got to be down on yourselves a little bit after losing the way that you did, after the beginning that you had. But I know we don't obviously have this stat, but I'd love to know the difference as far as score is considered from the kind of first set of rotations to the second one, because I'm sure it would be a much more drastic number compared to things. But I believe we do have some graphics to kind of show you guys as time goes on when it comes into hard points and whatnot. I know we're going to be having that one up coming for you guys shortly to kind of explain things. Maybe we might have that after a commercial break and whatnot, but just really good to kind of see the numbers explain how things obviously do kind of line themselves out in. But hard point on the docks, of course, goes the way of BigBeams. Prediction, wrong for me. I will absolutely kind of accept that. Very impressed by BigBeams' play up to this point. Team name, is to me a little bit uncreative. I'm not sure where BigBeams maybe comes from, or really what the kind of initial part comes from it. I'm not sure if it's RobbieBeamin's squadron, if it's like a name or whatever. I'm not exactly sure. But of course, for map number 2, we're heading toward Arden Forest. So on this map, I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of both teams when it comes in offense, right? And I know I think I talk about offense like every time for Search and Destroy. I'm an S&D junkie, essentially, is what I am. But on Arden Forest, you have the ability to obviously go to both bomb sites. But I believe on this map for Blast Radius, I feel like they're going to have a pretty decent setup when it comes down to their roles. Just because when you talk about like the SMG play when it comes down to B, they have 2 guys who can do that. They have Havok. They obviously have Legal as well. The assault rifle through middle. Blfire or Mosh can kind of hang on that role. Based on what we've seen, I'm assuming they're going to have Havok and Legal kind of roaming. Havok maybe with the sniper rifle. But I imagine they're actually going to have Blfire probably through middle and probably Mosh on the A site to kind of watch over. So I think they're going to have kind of a setup that works. Like everyone knows about Arden Forest, Search and Destroy, TK success. Really what they do is they have 2 players kind of lingering inside of B. They have Kenny for the initial rush, accuracy in the middle, and Chino to kind of watch over the A-bomb site kind of in that kind of wood stacks area. I feel like the guys on Blast Radius kind of also fit that kind of role. So I feel like they're going to have some positives coming into this, a little bit of a kind of advantage in some cases. But I was talking how coming into the series, BigBeams, they look great in Search and Destroy. This is a team who plays very well in this game mode. Super, RobbieBeamin, Skilliosis, all known for their Search and Destroy play. Skilliosis ended up finishing in the second place, the second annual Memorial $10,000 S&D tournament. Of course, alongside like Supreme Agility and Retrix and Co. and whatnot. They played very, very well throughout the tournament. Second place finish. You got to imagine they're pretty good in that game mode if they finish that high. But I believe, as we kind of discussed Search and Destroy, we actually do have the infographic here for you guys in a hard point, of course, on London Docks to see how the kind of hills did kind of find themselves out. But I talked about how important barrel building is. It kind of is becoming essentially, warehouse is kind of becoming essentially like a money hill. But when we kind of look at things, I mean, generally, of course, BR standing for Blast Radius, BigBeams, aka Big, obviously standing for that group as well. Kind of see the difference. Looks like Statue obviously goes the way of BigBeams, not by a whole lot, not really that much of a difference of a margin. Main Street pretty much the same. But you look at these next few hard points that are getting ready to come up. Warehouse and barrel building. That rotation, that difference between both of these hills, and that really was the turn of this game, essentially, is what it looks like, is based off of that third and fourth hard point. It's not a matter of like them kind of being spaced out, like, oh, it was just this team who made a rotation. It was, like I said, like a matter of like a flip of a switch where one team, of course, being BigBeams, just hit the nail on the head. They earned streaks. They had a great rotation. They flipped the spawns when it came down to being inside a warehouse, had that advantage inside of back barrels. And I actually noticed up the first set of rotations, it was actually the guys from BigBeams who did hold that initial setup when it came down to barrel building. They ended up getting broke pretty easily, but I'm not sure if that was just a matter of them kind of realizing what went wrong. They were able to fix that when it came down to the second set of rotations. But like I said, we noticed a big differential when it comes down to those 2 hills in specific, being in Doc's warehouse and also being a barrel building, the kind of major changeup obviously came from those 2 hard points, and kind of discussing how important Doc's warehouse obviously is when it comes down to this match. But still, of course, we obviously are able to kind of witness exactly why and how BigBeams kind of came through with this. We talked about big performers. Tisch played very well. Of course, RobbieBeamin played very well. The entire group kind of, as a unit, played very strong as well, which is exactly what you kind of have when you're facing off against Blast Radius. But right now, if I'm BigBeams, I'm pretty happy. I'm pretty confident, right? We escaped with a map #1 victory versus a very solid hardpoint team. When you're in a best-of-3 format, great thing about best-of-3s, I don't have to worry about the game mode that I just played. Whether or not it's a positive or a negative for certain teams, whether you're a good hardpoint search and destroy team, CTF alike, it obviously is nice because you can kind of wipe away that one and say, hey, we don't have to visit another hardpoint. We're good. We're 1 for 1 right now in respawns, and we're heading into search and destroy, which probably is our better game mode of the 2, at least on paper. I think it's fair to say. So, of course, Arden Forest is actually getting ready to load up right now. And like I said, it's going to be interesting to see how Blast Radius' kind of defensive setups are. I believe it will be BigBeams who are on the offense off the break. So I believe we should be able to kind of watch and look through a little bit of the classes if we could, just to kind of see what they're going to be rocking for the most part. And if we could, Observer, I'd really like to see what Blast Radius likes to do here on defense once we kind of swap back over to them. I really want to see what their kind of setup is going to be. So it looks like Havok is going to have the sniper rifle out. What I'm imagining he's going to do is either walk toward A, based on where he's positioned at. He's probably going to look toward B. But like I said, when it comes down to Arden Forest, you can really you have a number of different options with that sniper. So it looks like we're looking heavily at the red arrows right now. Looks like player number 7 up close is going to be Blfire, going for the initial challenge inside of you, being aware of that. It looks like it is going to be legal over on the A site. Off the break, Blfire finds the first pick. Tisch is there for the response. So right now, they have to be very wary of legal. Coming through Fireside, is getting ready to get in a big fight, takes that one down versus Super. At the same time, Tisch is there for the trade. So Tisch being a big difference maker, taking down 2 players so far in this map. Or in this round, rather, but also in this map. Him and his teammate now have to make a decision. What bomb site do we really want to rotate to? Keeping in mind, Havok does probably still have that sniper rifle in hand. Probably has picked up like a PPSH or maybe something off the ground, but isn't convinced they're off the B site. And you see him kind of playing, where Havok was kind of playing, the reason why he doesn't realize they're at B is because he has the sniper rifle on. He realized that if I were at a backside position, he really doesn't have a whole lot of freedom to kind of escape out of that area. So Tisch kind of provides a lot of pressure. It kind of changes up what could have been a push. And now if you're Mosh, you're really having to really rely on a pick, and he does exactly that. Skilliosis at the same time shuts down Havok. So we have 1v1, Skilliosis in some cases with the advantage. But Mosh thought he was going to go for the ninja, trying to go for the sound cue. Smart play from Skilliosis, but comes the rush from Mosh despite the kill coming in from Mosh. Not enough time to go for the defuse. Solid play coming in from this man. Had to try to break this one by himself. Didn't really have a whole lot of support coming in from Havok. So defensive round unsuccessful. If you are Blast Radius, chalk it up for BigBeams. They've got to be feeling pretty good after that first round victory. Of course, now looking on here into this next round. As it looks like legal. Bomb in hand. RobbieBeamin, though, making the initial rush, trying to pick off Havok. Does exactly that. Successful first blood found. And right after RobbieBeamin, if you're the guys on BigBeams, rely on the fact that you have this first blood found. It looks like the smoke actually gets tossed out here toward A. And just like that, in quick succession, players begin to fall. And I really got to respect the play coming in from the group on BigBeams, especially RobbieBeamin. Because Robbie goes for the initial rush on the Havok. At the same time, once they realize that push has kind of been solidified, I think they realize once the smoke comes out that one player is lingering through the middle to kind of watch the flank. And so I think, at least in my opinion, that's just good overall knowledge of RobbieBeamin to know what a setup looks like when a team is tossing a smoke to try to get inside of A. So props to BigBeams for kind of staying alive. Robbie for knowing the positioning. As now they've won back-to-back rounds. And right now, if you're Blast Radius, you got to be feeling the pressure. Got to be feeling that pressure, but look at the smoke is tossed out. I love the perfect timing with the stun. Tisch literally rounds the corner. The player who's sitting in B dom to kind of take him out is immediately blind. But at the same time, Havok takes out 2 players. The headshot from the back lines from Tisch, trying to win this round back in their favor. And right now, if you're legal, You have a sniper. You don't really have a preferred weapon of choice, and yet again, it's Mosh in a 2v2 scenario, teammate with a sniper rifle in hand. He kind of has to either find a pick or kind of babysit Legal until the time being because he doesn't really have a weapon to go for. Has no real positives for the time, so bomb gets planted. Like I said, Legal has to find a weapon. Like, he has a machine pistol. I'm not sure if he's found anything. No, he's not found anything. And I don't believe Tisch knows that he does have a sniper, but Mosh having to make a big play, trying to come forward. Pick not found for Legal, so now the guys from BigBeams can realize that, hey, we can kind of play a little bit more passively. We can try to rely on this. Legal coming forward, though, does drop the second, so Mosh and Legal, despite having the weapon disadvantage, not the man count disadvantage, will secure this round. Machine pistols do the work necessary. And I think, well, the sniper rifle to me seemed kind of like a negative. I think once they fire that sniper rifle, I think the guys from BigBeams kind of back up. And once they start to do that, they don't realize the positioning kind of gained there for Mosh. So the sniper kind of acts as a bait. Really when it shouldn't, it kind of does. So I think once that kind of bullet gets fired, it acts as a little bit of a distraction. But it looks like a smoke is tossed out. Havok finding yet again another kind of first blood in his Search and Destroy game. Very talented in finding those early kills, especially in past tournaments. There, 2 players drop fast. Skilliosis, nice reaction onto one. Beautiful kind of nade to potential second kill found. Really what he's trying to do is just trying to toss the nade toward one angle. Once the player backs up, he obviously try to pre-fire, but really this round is going to go the way of BR, a.k.a. Blast Radius. They're going to win back-to-back rounds here. As Tisch having some struggles. And obviously does not want to let this bomb tick down. I mean, granted, you much rather kind of have the enemy have the plus 100 rather than the bomb exploding. But let's keep in mind this man Mosh, right? I mean, he ends up finding some big kills during the last round. Of course, stays alive to find the final pick. He could be on a run towards some streaks, so definitely one guy to be keeping your eye out for. And he's actually 5-1 right now. So solid play coming in from Mosh. That's going to give some credit where it is due. Been playing very solid throughout a lot of these matches. But what's the offensive setup coming in for BR? It looks like the smoke tossed out. I believe that's inside of you. Yes, so smoke tossed inside of you right now for BigBeams. Skilliosis very patiently making his way forward. He's going to spot someone through that cut. Blfire not aware of it. Takes down one. Havok gets met with a few shots as well. Him and Super combining for 2. Legal coming around the corner. Last player up. Has no idea. He's dealing with 2 players at the exact same time. Great play coming in from BigBeams. And props to Skilliosis right for this position. I mean, he has the opportunity to literally see 3 players throughout this round. Gets 2 kills along with the assistance on the other. Indeed, to holding this position, the guys from Blast Radius were just always caught off guard. So props for them throwing the smoke. Kind of baiting out BR to thinking that, hey, a rush could definitely be necessary. But I was talking about this in the game where BigBeams was obviously playing prior. RobbieBeamin, known for these first bloods. He's just been on a tear, but it looks like Super coming through with 2 big sniper kills. Not a collat, but very close to it being. And you see Mosh very wary of that. What he's trying to do is try to bait up the sniper, but it looks like Sheesh. He wants all 4. He wants all 4. Can he find the ace? And yes, he will find it. 3 quick sniper kills along with the machine pistol to find the 4th. Mosh was trying to throw the nade to bait out this man. Trying to make him blind for a few moments, but that's not at all what takes place. Super to the rescue as he will find the 4th round here for BigBeams as they are trying their hardest to get toward that 6th round. They realize how important the Search and Destroy game is for them. I'm not one to face off against Blast Radius in the CTF, I think it's fair to say. Very knowledgeable team when it comes down to a game mode like that. A lot of patience, a lot of communication needed. Not that BigBeams doesn't have that, but I think the fact they're being together, kind of playing as veterans, has to kind of play into fact. RobbieBeamin on the flank does take out Legal from the side. Not the first blood, but darn near close to it. Objective down, grabs it. Just overall solid play coming from RobbieBeamin and co. I mean, they're just on a tear. Despite not finding the first blood, he's there for the quick trade. I mean, they just have Blast Radius's number. They know exactly where their offensive setups or their defensive setups rather are going to be. And just a great hit coming in from Super. I mean, literally, we're kind of talking about different moments throughout the Search and Destroy game as Blfire and Havok try to make a little bit of a bait and switch situation that we talked about from time to time, right? That nade where a pre-aim is coming, a call-out comes forward, a few seconds later, that guy's dead with a nade. A few rounds prior to that, I was discussing how one player entered inside of you. I think it was Tisch enters inside of you, where that player was already pre-aiming. A stun literally just prevents that guy from even shooting back. Like, he immediately goes blind. Like, literally picture-perfect kind of tactical, lethal usage coming in from BigBeams. As they are walking away with the Search and Destroy right now, 5 rounds to 2. And, of course, now not just on map or series point, but tournament point. One more round of Ardent Forest needed, and this tournament is done. It's through. RobbieBeamin not able to find a pick in that situation. Now sits in the respawn screen waiting for his other 3 to try and clutch up. Skilliosis right now just inside a statue. Gets the side peek on a Blfire. Doesn't have any utility to toss right now. No stuns. No one lingering through mid. Goes for the rush, and Blfire thankfully is there. I mean, he had no one who was watching that angle. I mean, if he loses that fight, it's probably a trade, but you can't afford a trade right now if you're BR. Only having 2 members, I mean, a 2v2 with Super, who probably has a sniper rifle to try and challenge you. Takes him out. Blfire is there for the trade, but to no avail. To no avail. There are just things that aren't being watched right now for BR. I mean, that round just goes to show it. I mean, granted, of course, it goes the way of Blast Radius, but I mean, a lot of different moments where the player kind of makes the initial rush on Blfire. He has no idea that anyone's coming. Legal goes for the plant. Granted, it's not on the best side, but no one's watching over him. Like, he immediately gets taken down. Blfire's there for the trade, but just no one's watching over each other. Like, it's almost like they're kind of fending for themselves. And BigBeams are taking full kind of awareness of it. And off of a kill there, of course, Super now does have some streaks to utilize, so they're going to be playing off of these. And I'm not sure if the guys from Blast Radius know of that, so we need to be very wary of that. Keeping in mind that it looks like at least Havok, no class to kind of handle it. Thankfully does get inside of Statue Room. I would say he did have Airborne, no Mountain, so the Glide Bomb can't spot him. So Streak gets utilized. Pick gets found, and just like that, Super from the skies. Fighter pilot underway, takes out Mosh. 2v4 for the tournament. Havok in the back lines, him and Legal left to fend for themselves. Desperately needing a pick, receiving the shots as the ticks go down to the bomb. More and more pressure begins to be felt. Havok finds a pick, though. One found onto the Tisch. And now it's up to Legal 1v3 and not able to make anything happen out of it, as Ardent Force will be closed out here in 9 rounds of play. And RobbieBeamin going for the jump shot as his team successfully claimed the title of $300 minimum 4v4 variant champions here on February 1st. Major congratulations, of course, to those guys for winning this tournament tonight. Played very, very well kind of throughout this entire game. Throughout this entire tournament, I think it's fair to say. I mean, just played very, very strong. Of course, we kind of take a look here at the kind of overall round count scoreboard. Of course, BR standing for Blast Radius, Big for BigBeams. I mean, generally, first 2 rounds of game, we start to see BR start to have some strong performances. But I really want to kind of hamper and kind of target on the fact, right, that throughout the Search and Destroy game, it was a work of art. I think it's fair to say. It was just a pure work of art for the guys on BigBeams from time to time. I want to talk about 2 different moments, right? There was a moment where I was going to say, I think it was RobbieBeamin, who was pre-firing someone inside a back cabin. Like, he was inside of like that back cabin position, kind of on that rock head glitch, where someone's kind of coming through that round corner through bridge side. I mean, he literally is shooting at someone where in moments a nade is just there to kind of take him down. He ends up like getting a few hit markers, and then a nade is just there to greet him. Like, that is just overall Search and Destroy communication at its finest. Being able to find a player and then just immediately in a moment's notice, a nade is there at the feet. A call is given. Everyone knows this nade spot. They know exactly what to do. A kill is found. Another moment, which is probably my favorite play throughout this entire tournament, which, you know, I want to see more plays like this happen, But the timing of the stun that comes forward when Tisch is making his way through mid-map inside of you, and the stun immediately comes forward. I want to say it was on Havok. I might be wrong about that, but I'm pretty sure it was Havok who was sitting inside of B-Dom. I mean, Havok is ready for that play, and as soon as Tisch rounds the corner, the shots come forward for Havok, and as soon as he fires a bullet, a stun is at his feet. He's blind. He has no idea where he's at, and he loses sight of Tisch, and Havok ends up dying for it. Literally just kind of perfect kind of play, like literally from time to time. It was just a matter of the guys from BigBeams who just had the kind of synchronized utility usage, kind of overall tactical usage that was just picture perfect. And I just got to say, it was just an awesome thing to see, especially in Search and Destroy. But I think it's fair to say the hardpoint differential was definitely there. I think it's honestly fair if we do take a look at the scoreboard there for the hardpoint rotations, if we could, to kind of see really the difference maker when it kind of came down to this game. But really kind of looking at things, we can obviously see the major difference maker of this match really kind of came down to Warehouse and Barrels, which of course we kind of target. The guys from BigBeams really kind of turned up on the second half of the two, and really kind of finished off well in Warehouse along with Barrels. And we kind of been discussing as time has gone on London Docks what really is the kind of, for the most part, money hill of that map. And I think it's fair to say, you know, from time to time it can be Barrels, but generally it is Warehouse. When you lock down time in that hard point, you really have the ability to kind of set up spawns for Barrels. So while you are getting a lot of time in Warehouse quite a bit of the time, if you have the rotation set up well, you can kind of easily target yourself for even more seconds in the later rotations, which is exactly what we see from BigBeams. Tisch has a strong performance. RobbieBeamin was playing very, very well throughout this entire tournament as well. Got to give massive credit to both of those players, along with, of course, Super and Skilliosis. Like I said, I've never heard of Super. Haven't really seen this guy be mentioned in any of our tournaments so far, so definitely going to have my eye on him for sure. But, of course, got to give a big GG's along with BigBeams. But, of course, the guys on Blast Radius for making it as far as they did and having a very strong performance. Of course, these guys are...